Hello and welcome in this video. In this video I'm going to show you how you can get a Google Sheet filled with URLs from one word you place in a Google Sheet. You place in a Google Sheet, you place Airtable for beginners, we run our make.com scenario, and then we get a whole sheet filled with URLs with the titles so we can scrape them or we can watch them and we can gather information or we can gather ideas to make a video, for example, make a blog post. Hit get a row from the Google Sheet. For example, I search for Airtable for beginners. Let's make a variable and it create a new spreadsheet. So we get a new spreadsheet for the new search term we use. This goes to Perplexity and search for the YouTube URLs. Then it's giving the output from Perplexity in a JSON. Then we parse the JSON, iterate over it, and we add a row to the new sheet. So that's how the scenario is working. If you want the blueprint, you can go to my community. You can download it. The link is below this video. So what we need for this is we need make.com. We need a Google Sheet connection. We need a Perplexity connection and an OpenAI connection. And you can go to the link below this video to see how you can get a Google connection, a Perplexity API, and an OpenAI API. Okay, let's start by building the scenario. We're going to go to a new scenario. We are in make and a new scenario. First, we're going to give it a name. I choose for URLs, and that's the name of my scenario. So now we're going to add the first module. For the first module, we're going to go for the Google Sheet module. So I click Google Sheet, and I watch new rows. So every time I fill in a name on a new row, it will run the scenario and we can search for the URLs we want. But before we go further, we must create a new Google Sheet. So we go to Google Sheet, we make a new Google Sheet. I give this the name URLs. I give it a header name. I make it a little bit bigger. And then we can give input for all the names. So every row we can give another name, for example Airtable for beginners or make.com for beginners, make scenarios, and then Perplexity will search for URLs and we get URLs in the new Google Sheet with the name we fill in this cell. So we fill in make.com, make.com tutorials, and now we have make.com tutorials and the name is URLs. And now we're going back to our scenario, and on scenario we choose the spreadsheet ID. So we click here to search for the file, and the file name is search for URLs. And now we have two, and as you see I have different ones, so I going back to my Google Sheet and I do URLs 1, so I know which one it is. For you, you can choose the name you want. And now we're going to click here to choose the file. We're going to search for URLs again, and now we must refresh it because otherwise we don't see it. And we must have URLs 1, so we start again, URLs 1. This one is it. Now we make the connection to the Google Sheet. Now we must choose the sheet name. This is Dutch, but this block one is sheet 1. So for you it will be sheet 1. And now we can choose a limit. The limit is the rows we want to run. So if we have 10 rows and we want to run 10 rows each time we run the scenario, I will change the limit to 1. I choose OK. Okay, and now we're going to run the scenario once. So we choose run this module only, but first we choose where to start. So we choose manually. Now it's loading the scenario. So we're going to choose make.com tutorials because that's the row we want to start. Click on OK. And now we choose right mouse button, run this module only. And now we will see if it's retrieving the information. And we get make.com tutorials, row number 2. Row number 2, make.com tutorials. Okay, so we're going back. Now we set up this, and now we're going to set variables because we need the variable later on more time, so I choose to set a variable. So we're going to tools, and we're going to go to set a variable. I choose the variable name, I choose URL, I choose the value, and the value is name A. We get the info from the column, and when we choose that, we choose it so we get the input from row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, whatever. So it's changed in the whole scenario. Everything is changed because we choose this one. So choose variable value, choose OK, and now we run it again. So we choose where to start because we want to start with one value we have in the Google Sheet, and we choose make.com tutorials, and now we choose to run it once to see if it's working. And now it's run, and then we get the right value. Yes, we get URL make.com tutorials. Okay, so great, this is working. And now we're going to add another module because we want to generate a new Google Sheet every time we use a different search term or word, URL kind of thing. So every time we do this, we want to make a new Google Sheet because we want URLs separated in a separated Google Sheet. So I choose Google Sheet, and now I choose create a Google Sheet. So we scroll down or we type and we see create a spreadsheet. So we create a spreadsheet. When this module opens, we must give it a name. That's the reason I work with the variable, because I want to use the variable for the name of the Google Sheet. So every time we run a different word, we get a different name for the Google Sheet we create. So we choose here for the variable, and the variable is URL. And now we're going to add the title we want. So we do sheet 1, and I use the variable again. So the name will be sheet 1 make.com tutorials. Okay, and now we're going to run this and see if it's working. So we run this once. Now I forget to choose where to start. So I choose where to start, choose manual. Run this once, and then we see when we refresh, we get a new, this one is empty because we don't have information in it, but now we have the new Google Sheet. So this one is working. So we go further with our scenario. We're going to connect Perplexity. So we're going to add another module. We're going to type in Perplexity, exit, and we create a chat completion. We're going to add a message. So we choose message, going to content, give me 10 URLs from YouTube videos about, and then we going to add URL, done, and focus to these videos, but provide always 10 URLs about. And that's what we want to do. The rule is user we choose. I choose OK, and now it's working. And now I'm going to run the scenario again. So I choose where to start, choose manually. I'm going to watch if it's giving the URL. So run once. Is it getting the URLs we want? And if it's getting the URLs, we're going to set up the next module. And it's ready. Did we get the URLs we want? And we're going to see, did it get URLs? Here are 10 URLs. We see the URLs. We see here URLs. And now we're going to add a ChatGPT module because we get a lot of text, we get markdown, and we only want URLs, and we want to get them in a JSON format so we can use them. So now we're going to add another module, and that's a ChatGPT module, so an OpenAI module. So I'm going to choose OpenAI, going to choose the model, and scroll down to GPT-4 because I think GPT-4 is more than enough for this. And we're going to add a message. We want to add a message in the role of user. So we're going to add the text. Here is the info. And now we must have the output that we get from Perplexity. We want the output here. So we're going to search the choices. And we're going to see here are the 10 YouTube video URLs. So we choose this one. And now we say, give the 10 URLs. And you can choose for more, but I choose 10 as JSON output. We want to get it in a JSON because otherwise it will be a lot of a mess, and now we get a structured data output that we can use again and again. Now we're going to toggle this button, show advanced settings, because we want the response to be JSON. So we choose JSON object. Okay, and now the module is set. And as far as we now are, we must run the scenario again, and as we run it, we should get JSON output. So I'm going to start again, choose here, choose manually. I'm going to add make.com tutorials and run it once again. Normally I don't run it again and again and again, but I want to show you how you can be sure that the modules you choose are the right ones and that it's working in a way you want, because otherwise you are at the end of the scenario, you think, oh no, it's not working, and then you don't know where the error is or what's going wrong. As you see, now we get an error, so that's the reason we try to run this. We get an error, and the error is invalid parameter response format of type JSON object is not supported with this model. So I choose the wrong model, so I must change the model. So I'm going back, and I must change it to GPT-4o system, then it will work. But for now it was the wrong one. So we're going back, we had GPT-4o, and we must go to GPT-4o system, and that's the only change we need to make. Choose OK. Now we run it again and see if we get the JSON output we want. And what do we get as output? We go to the choices, we go to the messages, we go to the content, and we see we've got the JSON output. Now we're going to add the next module, and that's the JSON parser. So we're going to JSON, parse JSON, and we're going to use this because we want to make from the structured JSON data, we want to make normal data, then we want to iterate it and then put it in a Google Sheet. So we open the JSON parser, we click in the field, and now we're going to search for the JSON output of the module of OpenAI. So we're going to choices, we're going to message, and we see videos, title, how to. So this is the one we need. And we click on the green field, and now it's adding the JSON string into the JSON parser. And now we can click OK, and now we can run the scenario again to test it. So choose where to start, choose manually, choose make.com tutorials, run once. The transform should not be last module, run anyway. That's always the same error you get if you have a transformer and you want to test it. But for now we're going to run it. So we're going to see if the JSON parser is working. And we get the response from the JSON parser. And as you see, we get all the URLs. But because they are in an array, we must use an iterator to run through the items one by one, so we can put them on a single line in the Google Sheet. Because if we now paste it to the Google Sheet or bring it to the Google Sheet to a module, we paste everything in one cell. We want to paste it in different cells so we can use it in other scenarios and that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to add the iterator. I can go to flow control or iterator. I choose flow control, choose iterator. Now we get the array, and we must choose the array from the JSON parser. So we choose this, click on OK, and now we can run the scenario to test it again. So I choose manually, so I run it all again, choose make.com tutorials, and we run the whole scenario again, and we do. run it anyway. And now we have the iterator and we can see that it runs and we have all the bundles. And now we're going to add a row to the Google Sheet we created earlier. We choose Google Sheet and we choose add a row. We're going to add a row and we choose search method, enter manually because we want to use the ID we created earlier. So we're going to use manually. Then we're going to spreadsheet ID and we're going to search for the spreadsheet ID. So we choose Google Sheet spreadsheet ID. We click on OK. The sheet name, we must use the name we have used before. So that was sheet 1 space 2 URL. We're going to use the column range A to C. And now we can enter the values we want. So in column A, we choose the title. In column B, we're going to choose the URL. Now we click on OK, and now we're going to run the scenario for the last time. So I choose where to start, choose all, click OK, and run once. As you see, the last module has added everything to my Google Sheet. We get the name make.com tutorials, we get sheet 1 make.com tutorials, and we get one row with the titles and one row with the URL. And what a great way to use it is to add the URLs to LM Notebook and generate your own FAQs and that kind of stuff. If you want to learn something fast, this is the way you generate the URLs with the automation, and then you go to LM Notebook. I hope that you liked the video. Don't forget to put your thumbs up, and you want to have this blueprint, go to my community. You can find the link below. Thank you for watching.